When I was, as a detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself.
Officers were called to the tow yard over a foul odor coming from the Tesla, which had been sitting in the lot for several days.
Forget waiting for the police. David's own mother is reportedly stepping into the spotlight, and her timing has everyone shook. Word is she's about to speak out on a crime tied to her son, and insiders claim she's both convinced he did it and trying to justify why. But why speak now, before David has even been arrested, before cops officially name him as a suspect? Is this damage control? A mother's desperate defense? Or does she know something the rest of us don't? Girl, you'll need to sit down for this one because the latest twist in the David saga has everybody talking. Word on the street is that David's own mother is preparing to break her silence, and the timing could not be messier. Rumors say she's ready to step forward with her side of the story. But here's the jaw-dropper. She's allegedly convinced her son did it, yet at the same time, she's gearing up to defend him. Let that sink in. A mother who supposedly believes her child committed this horrific crime, but instead of condemning him, she's trying to justify it? Why would she come out now, before police have even made an arrest, before David has officially been named a suspect? Is this damage control from the inside? Or is she holding on to some piece of information that the rest of us don't know yet? And the biggest question of all, is she protecting her son or protecting herself? What really has people scratching their heads is the timing. Think about it. David hasn't been arrested. The police haven't even announced him as a person of interest. And yet his mom is already preparing a statement. It feels like she's jumping several steps ahead of the investigation, like she's trying to get her version of the story out before the authorities even make their move. And that's exactly why so many fans are calling this pure damage control. Because let's be real, when do family members usually come out with tearful statements or explanations? After the arrest, after the headlines, after the world already knows what happened. But David's mom is allegedly trying to get in front of it all, almost like she wants to plant the seed of sympathy before the truth fully comes out. And the internet isn't buying it. Social media is flooded with takes from people saying this looks less like a mother seeking justice and more like a mother scrambling to clean up a mess. Fans are already predicting the script. She's going to paint David as misunderstood, as a loner, as someone who had a rough childhood, and try to explain away his behavior like it's all just a tragic misunderstanding. But if she really believes he did it, why is she defending him at all? That contradiction is exactly what has the timeline buzzing. Some people think it's loyalty, others think it's manipulation, but everyone agrees the way David's mom is moving right now doesn't make sense unless there's something bigger going on behind the scenes. To really understand why fans think David's mom is stepping in now, you have to look at his past, because his story has always been shadowed by loneliness and red flags. David wasn't the kid who grew up surrounded by friends or after-school activities. He was homeschooled, and according to old whispers, that decision wasn't just about education. Rumor has it, his parents pulled him out of public school after relentless bullying, and while that may have protected him from the outside world, it also cut him off from the one thing every child needs: socialization. From there, things only got darker. With few friends and almost no real-life connections, David built his world around video games. He's even admitted in interviews that gaming wasn't just a hobby. It was his escape hatch. He once said, "I was always looking for outlets to escape reality as a child. I never wanted to read a book or do anything extracurricular. My mom hated it, but video games showed me complex characters and storylines." On the surface, that sounds like any creative kid finding inspiration. But the way David described it raised eyebrows. He confessed that he became so attached to these characters that he started copying them, calling himself a personality sponge, picking up traits from video games, movies, and shows instead of forming an identity of his own. And this is where the sociopathy talk comes in. Fans now look back at those quotes and say it wasn't just quirky, it was a warning sign. Because when someone admits they don't know who they are without mirroring fictional characters, and when their entire personality is shaped by violent, chaotic storylines, people can't help but wonder if that's a recipe for something much darker. Online, the theories are flying that David didn't just lose himself in those worlds, he became them. That his lack of socialization, combined with this constant escape into fiction, is why people now believe he may have developed an antisocial personality. In other words, the very traits that made him admired for his artistry may have also been what turned him into the type of person capable of doing the unthinkable. But if David's lonely childhood set the stage, it was his own words about his alter ego that really make people shiver today. Because long before Celeste's name was ever tied to tragedy, David was already talking about a character he created, one he called Itami. Now, if you don't know, Itami literally translates to pain in Japanese, and David described him as more than just a stage persona. In an old interview, he said Itami was an agent of chaos, a shadowy figure that existed to throw everything into disarray. At the time, fans thought it was just artsy talk, a way to sell his music as deeper, darker, more conceptual. But now, people are replaying that footage and asking, was David trying to tell us something all along? Because here's where it gets chilling. David admitted that he had been developing an anime-inspired story in his head, one where a detective is tasked with solving a string of brutal murders. But the twist? The killer the detective is chasing is actually his own alter ego, Itami. The detective and the murderer were the same person, trapped in a psychological battle with himself. In his own words, he described it like this: as the detective, I be solving murders I committed myself. When he first said it, people thought it was just creative metaphor, an edgy way for a young artist to explore dark themes through his music. But now that a real-life homicide is on the table, fans are revisiting those words and wondering if Itami wasn't just fiction, but a confession hidden in plain sight. Because what do you do when an artist tells the world about a murderous alter ego years before a body turns up at his car? Was David using music to process his darkness? Or was he foreshadowing something he always knew he would do? The more fans dig into these old interviews, the harder it gets to separate David the artist from Itami the monster. And with the discovery of Celeste's body, what once seemed like an edgy character sketch now feels terrifyingly close to reality. The speculation around David's alter ego suddenly felt a lot less like fiction when police were called to a Los Angeles tow yard on what should have been an ordinary day. Workers had reported a foul, gut-wrenching odor coming from an impounded black Tesla that had been sitting in the lot for days. At first, they thought it might have been spoiled food or a dead animal trapped somewhere in the car. But the stench was so strong, so unmistakable, that they called in the LAPD. When detectives popped open the front trunk of the Tesla, what they found turned the whispers about David into a full-blown nightmare. Wrapped in layers of plastic, hidden like a secret meant never to be uncovered, was a dismembered body. The scene was so horrifying that even seasoned officers were reportedly shaken. For days, rumors swirled about who it could be, until the coroner delivered the devastating confirmation. It was 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, the same girl who had been missing since April 2024. That revelation sent shockwaves across the internet. Celeste wasn't just a name on a missing persons flyer anymore. She was a real, young girl whose life had ended far too soon, and whose story was now forever tied to David. Her family's heartbreak spilled into the public when Celeste's sister reactivated an old Instagram account and posted a gut-punching message. Celeste was only 15 years old. She should still be here with us. She trusted someone who didn't protect her, and now she's gone. The post went viral almost instantly, pulling in millions of views and reigniting the hashtag Justice for Celeste, which spread like wildfire across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Suddenly, what had been internet gossip about David's strange interviews and dark lyrics became something no one could brush off. A confirmed tragedy, a grieving family demanding answers, and an investigation that was now impossible to ignore. As if the discovery of Celeste's body wasn't haunting enough, the detail that really made everyone's skin crawl came straight out of the police reports. Investigators noted that Celeste had a small tattoo inked on her finger, the exact same design David was photographed with months earlier. Side by side, the images were identical, almost like a matching symbol that tied the two of them together. Fans immediately dug up old paparazzi shots of David flashing that tattoo back in September, And once the news broke, the internet exploded with theories. Was this a secret pact between them? A marker of their relationship? Or something far more sinister? A sign of possession, control, even obsession? For Celeste's mother, the tattoo was confirmation of her worst fears. She revealed to reporters that she had long suspected her daughter's mysterious boyfriend was David, but she never had proof. Seeing that identical tattoo etched into both their skin left her shattered, because in her mind, it wasn't just a coincidence. It was evidence of the bond that ultimately cost Celeste her life. And then came the revelations about Celeste's past disappearances, which suddenly took on a darker meaning. Police confirmed that this wasn't the first time she had gone missing. Back in January, Celeste vanished for weeks before being found in the Hollywood Hills, in the very same neighborhood where David was living. At the time, it was brushed off as troubled teen behavior, but now it looks like it was only the beginning. Teachers even admitted later that Celeste had been talking to an older man online before her first disappearance. And those conversations? They led straight back to David. By April, she was gone again, but this time, she never returned. What once seemed like teenage rebellion now reads like the setup to something much more sinister, with David at the center of every path that led Celeste away from home. And with that tattoo linking them together in ink, fans are convinced this wasn't just a tragic coincidence. It was a pattern hiding in plain sight. Just when people thought the case couldn't get more disturbing, fans started digging through David's music catalog, and what they uncovered sent literal chills through the internet. It began with Romantic Homicide, his breakout hit that suddenly feels less like art and more like a confession. But then came the leaks, unreleased tracks from 2023 that mention a girl named Celeste by name, with lyrics that now feel hauntingly personal. In one leaked verse, David sings, "Oh, Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Smell her on my clothes like cigarettes. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed." At the time, nobody thought twice about it. Fans assumed it was just poetic license, a fictional muse. But after the discovery of her body, the words landed like a punch in the gut. Another unreleased line hits even harder. "Afraid you'll only love me when undressed, but you look so damn gorgeous in that dress. Missing you so much makes me depressed." The parallels between the lyrics and what we now know about his relationship with Celeste are too close for comfort. Social media has become a frenzy of armchair detectives, combing through every track, every interview, every obscure SoundCloud snippet David ever recorded. And the more they listen, the more they swear the signs were there all along. One fan tweeted, "It's giving goosebumps. He wasn't just writing songs. He was documenting his obsession." Another wrote, "These weren't metaphors. These were warnings." What once sounded like brooding, emotional songwriting has now been rebranded online as a musical breadcrumb trail, a series of eerie messages hidden in plain sight. Fans are left asking the question nobody wants to say out loud. Were David's greatest hits secretly love letters to Celeste, or confessions of something far darker? And this brings us right back to where we started, David's mom. Because after everything we've learned, the timing of her speaking out feels less and less like coincidence. Think about it. Before the police make their move, before an arrest is even confirmed, she's reportedly stepping into the spotlight. Why? Some fans are convinced she's laying the groundwork for sympathy, building a narrative where David isn't just a suspect. He's a misunderstood son shaped by a lonely childhood, a broken system, and a mind that never fit the mold. In other words, she's trying to soften the blow before the hammer falls. But others aren't so sure. They believe her contradictions, admitting she thinks he did it while still defending him, point to something darker. Is she trying to shield David from the full weight of public judgment? Or could she be protecting herself, covering up what she knew all along? There's even a theory floating around that her statement could backfire, that instead of saving her son, she might accidentally expose details the world isn't supposed to know yet. And that's the haunting question this whole case keeps circling back to. Is David's mom really trying to protect him, or is she about to pull the lid off secrets that could make this story even uglier than it already is? Either way, one thing is certain, this is far from over. The internet is already buzzing. The hashtag Justice for Celeste is growing louder by the hour. And with every lyric, every old interview, every chilling tattoo photo, the pieces of this puzzle only get darker. But now I want to know what you think. Is David's mom working damage control to save her son? Or is she unknowingly giving us the missing pieces of the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to check out the next video. Because trust me, the twists in this case are only just beginning.